Hi, Genki Call here. It is the week of May 29th, 2023, and we are in Groshnak this week. I'm going to get as much stuff as I can into this one video because I can't do the other videos I usually do tonight. It's going to have to wait till later because I have an early appointment. So I'll get in as much as I can. I want to go over the things I would normally forget first. So out of order, but as far as the trials go, this is the order that I've been using for the uh, uh, the trials, the epic trials, the up through level 200. Actually, I did. Da-da-da! I did levels 150 and 200 on autoplay with this lineup. Drake Rider, be sure that you have him fully traded because you're going to need that Drake. Brawlmaster Burnock is, these two are empowered mana converters. This team is going to be a lot more useful when you can actually plan out where all of the skull conversions are going to happen. But I did manage to win twice on autoplay. So, anyway. Next up, we have Mythic Friday. So let me pop on over here to Mythic Friday. Our new Mythic is Cantor. Cancer, Cantor. When I first heard it, I thought it was going to be a centaur, but no. I'm sorry that I can't make this any bigger, but what he's going to do is he's going to do true damage to the first and last enemies boosted by blue gems. Each blue gem will be an additional 3 damage. This guy really isn't mythic worthy. This is a legendary as far as I'm concerned. He does submerge himself when he takes damage, but even epics can do that. Reduce armor from skull or damage from skulls by 25%. That's not much. And then give 4 armor to all blue allies when matching blue gems. This guy is terrible. As a mythic, this is a terrible mythic. He should at least be doing damage to all enemies with this kind of lineup. I mean, it's just pitiful, in my opinion. However, I still have to have it because, I must have all the things. I hate being mythic blocked. So this guy is from Blackhawk. If you need a mythic from Blackhawk, definitely try for it. But as far as being usable, in my opinion, he's not. I could change my mind once I have him, Sometimes I have to try them out, but on paper, he looks absolutely pitiful. Even Shoggorath. Shoggorath is from here. Shoggorath is from Dripping Caverns. And I'll show you Shoggorath, the legendary. Even the legendary from the Underworld is better. Silence and deal true damage to the first and last enemy. Plus, you're getting mana gen. Plus, you're getting enrage on a random ally. All of this is more useful than the new mythic, in my opinion. Of course, it's not from this kingdom, but it's just an example that I happen to have in my brain right at this second. All right. Next up, we have campaign tasks. They're pretty straightforward. They are get 100 glory. That means PvP. When these two go in hand, win 20 PvP battles, you're going to be getting glory from that. And then kill 120 troops. Easy peasy, no problems at all with this. So, I love having tasks that we do just from playing the game normally, although not everybody plays PvP, but it's a good excuse to get in there and look for pet gnomes. Next up, we have, let's go over the world event scoring, actually. So, this one, world event scoring. I don't have time to make the teams right now. I apologize, but the scoring is pretty straightforward. It's rarity order. Everybody's going to drop variables. Just take the lowest level fights, the highest rarity, and you'll be good. How do you remember Tinseltail over Forest Guardian or Nightwing over Moon Phoenix? You can go in reverse alphabetical order. So the later in the alphabet before the earlier, that would work. Or just don't worry about it. Just take the highest rarity. It all works, but there's no scaling or there's no... They all have an equal chance of showing up on your screen. at any given time, so I'll show you. We have meats and we have cakes. Meats. I have the meats. Sorry. Yeah, so they can all show up at any time, supposedly an equal chance. So that is your world event scoring. Shoggorath would be a good choice if you have it. It does damage to more than one enemy. And as far as the boost goes, hold on, I didn't look. Georgia told me, and I don't remember. Oh yeah, it's skull damage only. So, it's a skull spamming week, and I do love my skull spammers, but anyway, I can't make the teams right now. My apologies. We're gonna we're gonna go over the troops. Yeah, let's do it now. Hold on, shop. Go into resources, grab your spoils of war, get all 10 of these if you can afford it. 10 event keys for 1800 glory is a very good deal, so grab that. Then head over to the weekly event, get the new troop, the Mouth of Zorn. This guy, I'll tell you in a second. Let me get this up to Mythic. Always get this up to Mythic when you can afford it, because that is a guaranteed level 20 troop for your kingdom when you need it for your power levels. Super helpful to start getting those extras as soon as you can. Of course, use event keys first. If you're going to use any event keys, that way you can save yourself some glory. But this guy is going to do damage to an enemy boosted by orc allies. So every orc on your team is going to be an extra 4 damage. If the enemy is death marked, there is a 35% chance to devour them. Okay, that's actually pretty high. He's immune to death mark himself, which is great, and he's immune to mana burn, mana drain, and mana steal. So Inari and King of Ravens are not going to work on this guy. Alright, did I buy them? No. Let's get those. And of course, you also get all of the lovely things. You get the trait stones and some gold, some glory, and some gold keys. Always great to have those trait stones when you're lower level. Super, super helpful. Next, let's go over the thing that I was afraid I was going to forget. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Holy cow. Oh, yeah, let's go over the troops. I'm losing my mind. Okay, let's go over the troops. So let's sort this by rarity order. And also, let's show all just in case I'm missing anything. All right. So this is the first time Eye of Argus? Yeah. Eye of Argus has been available with event keys. He also didn't come into the game all that long ago. He's going to explode a row, deal damage to a random enemy boosted by red gems, brown gems, and skulls in the row. His spell is not that bad, but the fact that you can't target an enemy makes it less useful. In my opinion, I think he would have been a much better mythic if you could target. Here is the thing about Eye of Argus. Create 2 Doom Skulls at the start of my turn. People are using this the same way they used the Great Worm. They put 3 of them on a team and with some splody weapon and or with Web Spinner at the front, that kind of thing, and just decimate the other team with the skulls and don't even worry about the spell. So, if you only got one of these and you were wanting more, now's your chance to get him with event keys if you're lucky. But you could also get one of these other 2 crappy mythics. And yes, I said crappy. It's the general consensus that these guys are the worst mythics in the game, and now that I have them, I kind of have to agree. I thought that Gargantor would be better because you can put 2 fire bombs on your team with Gargantor and a weapon that summons, and just keep summoning and letting things die and summoning and letting things die, and you're just going to get this massive boost well, it's not massive, but every time something dies on your team or theirs, there's an extra 15 damage this guy does. It takes forever. It's not worth it. Just use something that can kill them quickly, because this guy is just not going to do it. He really needs a rework. He is impervious, which is great, but and he gains attack and magic when he takes damage, which is also nice. But, just at the end of the day, he is not useful because he's just too slow to get going. Next up is the Shade of Zorn, and arguably, his summons are a lot more useful than he is. Damage to an enemy boosted by red allies and skulls, an additional 4 damage for each red ally and for each skull on the board. And if the enemy dies, if they die, only if they die, you will summon 2 Fists of Zorn. And I have to sneeze. Hold on. Wait. Okay. I'm done. I paused it for just a second while I was doing that. Hopefully you didn't hear all that. I know you heard some of it, but anyway. We'll get to the Fist of Zorn and what Fist of Zorn does if you don't know. It's an empowered converter. It creates skulls, yellow to skulls, but eh. He is stealthy, which makes him a little bit more useful, but pretty much not great. He's just not. I mean, I know, what is that guy's name from Sword's Edge? Sir Gawain. He summons 3 troops, and he's not even an epic. I think he's an ultra rare. He may be an epic, but I think even he is better than this troop. Next up, we have Garnock, who actually has his uses. He does 1 true damage to all allies. That seems a little weird, but when you're higher level, doesn't matter at all. It's just 1 damage. He creates 7 red and 7 brown gems, boosted by orc allies, and summons an orc troop. So he is a summoner, and all orc allies start with 50% mana, which is, of course, very useful if you're using an orc team. Most of us don't. However, we have an event this week where you have to use orcs, so that could be very useful this week. And anytime you need to take a bunch of orcs in with you. Next up is Kruarg the Dread. Now the thing about Kruarg is he's okay. He does damage to the last 2 enemies. If there are 13 or more red gems, summon a random demon if you have an open slot. But it's his 3rd trait that makes him useful. It's only a 5% chance, but if he does skull damage, he might devour them. 5% chance is very, very low. But, you know, if you've ever fought him in a delve and gotten devoured by him, you know what I mean, that he can be useful. I just never use him just in general. I might this week because he does hit 2 enemies, but then again, we only have skull damage boost. Next up is Shoggorath. He is not available. He is only from Dripping Caverns with your Chaos Shards. And so we will move on to Solzara. Solzara is great for high-level events because she's going to do damage to an enemy, gain souls, and if the enemy's life is greater, she's going to do triple damage. And she'll get triple souls as well. And she is a necromancer. So if you're soul farming, if you're doing a high-level event like this one, you can do that triple damage. That will make up for the fact that there is no spell damage boost. So you could use her for a little while in the event if you felt like it, and she does get some extra damage every time extra magic every time an enemy dies, and that will boost this purple number here. Next is Borgak. He's Borgak. He is our God Slayer. Watch out for this guy if you bring anything with a red border to this kingdom for an explorer, because he will do 3 to 5 times damage to them. That's a Zolgoth, that's the Gem Dragons, that's Enraged Kurandara, that's Hatir Ascendant, Scroll Reborn, etc., etc. Also, to the bosses in the dungeon. If there's a red border, he's going to do that damage. He can also do that with skull damage if you have him traded. And next we have Brawlmaster Burnak. Brawlmaster Burnak is going to, or Burnock, it's Burnock. Create 8 red gems boosted by orc allies and enemies and give 1 attack to all allies. He's just going to create an additional 1 red gem for each, but you know, 8 red gems isn't too bad, especially if he's one of your only mana generators. Become enraged when an enemy dies, and a little skull damage reduction, meaning you can run him at the front of your team. It's not much, but the enrage is going to be super helpful. Next is Dark Song. You will get her from doing the storyline here, so you should already have her. She does damage to an enemy, eliminates 4 points of a random skill, just straight up, and if the enemy is an orc or demon, she's going to steal 6 mana, which will add right back into hers, and she'll only need, that's half her mana. So she also has the magic link, so bonus purple mana from purple gem matches. That means you match 3, you actually get 4, and etc. And gains 2 magic when she takes damage. Next, we have the Elf Eater. He does damage to an enemy if the enemy is an elf, deal double damage, and there's a 50% chance to devour them and gain some life. He's going to gain life, period. That's just a different sentence. So, double skull damage versus elves. This guy really doesn't like elves, except he likes to eat them. And, he gets a little life back at the start of each turn and gains extra life on 4+ gem matches. Steldros can be very dangerous. If you're fighting her on your a lot higher level, she can be level 1 and you can be level whatever with 200 damage. But the thing is, she's going to damage you boosted by all enemies' magic. So your entire team is going to be added together, cut in half, and that will add to this. So she can wallop you. Also, if she's on your team and it's a high level fight, she's going to do a ton of damage to them. So that's pretty cool. Plus, she does summon if there are 13 or more red gems. She has a chance to do true damage with skulls, 50% chance, does double skull damage versus mythics, and gains a little extra magic when she takes damage. Next up, Fist of Zorn. I told you I'd tell you what Fist of Zorn does, and I already did, but here we go in writing. Convert all yellow gems to skulls, plus she gives attack to the first ally. It's not a lot. It's half of your, basically, it's half of your magic to the first ally, and she is empowered, which makes her very useful. You know her from Guild Wars. If you've done any Guild Wars, the thing is about this kingdom is that we have a bunch of empowered skull converters. We've got this one, this one, this one, and there's one more down further. I think there are 4. But we're going to move on first to Gorthrum. He destroys a column, then explodes 2 random gems for every yellow gem destroyed. So he can do some mana gen. The destroyed column is going to be collected and added to your team as if it was matched, and then the explosion will give you partial mana. So also immune to Deathmark. That's basically it for his traits. Mouth of Zorn we already went over, but I'm going to get him maxed out while we're sitting here. La 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 la. Hehe. He's pretty cool. The artwork is pretty cool. He's kind of gross, but he's also pretty cool. I just noticed what he's holding in his hand. That is not a club that most people would use. He likes to eat. He does devour, after all. It does look like meat. Ochre Jelly is from Dripping Caverns. You will not be able to get this. Rockgar the Guardian. This one's not an empowered mana converter. My bad. He converts all blue gems to skulls. He is a skull converter, or converts 2 skulls, but he also creates brown mana potions. If any enemy is stunned, there's a 50% chance for an extra turn, and that may be for each enemy? I don't know. No, it says if any enemy is stunned. He has double skull damage versus stunned enemies and skull damage reduction as well. I have run him at the front of my team before. He is not empowered, but he does have that conversion with skulls. Next up is Treknala, who is arguably one of the most useful ones here. Love Fist of Zorn. Treknala also is very useful. She inflicts Hunter's Mark on the first enemy, which means when you do skull damage and you're going to create skulls, you're going to do double damage with those skulls. Very nice. Also, she's empowered. She has a chance to dodge skull damage. Not that I would put her at the front of the team, but she is very, very useful. And then we have Vorkarn. This one is our Siege Breaker. It's just like the Godslayer, only for towers, and that includes Leonis Tower. He's going to do the 3 to 5 times damage. He's going to gain some attack and do some damage just with his spell. Wardrock. This guy does damage to the first enemy boosted by their attack, and it's a 3-to-1 ratio, so you take their attack and you divide by 3. Well, that's really easy. And add that onto the damage. And then if I'm enraged, bleed the first enemy twice. That does like an extra 4 damage true damage per turn, I think. I can't remember. It's been too long since I looked at it. He also becomes enraged anytime an enemy dies, and whether he did it or not. And so he's good to run at the front of the team, although he has no skull damage reduction. Can't get Cloak Mantle. That guy's from Dripping Caverns. The Drake Rider is nice. This guy converts all yellow gems to red and does some splash damage converted by gems converted. Splash damage, you hit a troop, and each adjacent troop that they have to be touching will get 50% of that mana or damage. So half of this will go to anything touching it. And then has a 100% chance to summon a Drake upon death. And we're going to go over the Drake in just a minute here. Orc Veteran does a range of damage. It's a pretty wide range of damage to an enemy. If the enemy's attack is weaker, create 8 red gems. Alright, sorry about that. Orc Veteran. This guy, oh yeah, we already started this. Create 8 red gems. We already went over that. Okay, Wyvern. Wyvern does damage to the first 2 enemies, poisons the last 2 enemies, and is 50% empowered. And that's about it. Next up, we have the Armored Borlet. He does Borlet? Damage to an enemy. If I'm enraged, knock them to the back. He is a bounty hunter. I would never use him for bounty personally, but there it is. Cyclops does damage to an enemy boosted by my attack. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. Considering the fact that this is only an ultra rare, that's pretty powerful because that's this number, whatever this is, plus the number that you've got here, and that can add up. Usually for an ultra rare, that would have had a different kind of boost ratio, but that's pretty good. Direboar. Destroy a row, deal damage to the first 2 enemies. So this is another one that does damage to 2 enemies with a spell. 50% empowered and become enraged when an enemy dies. Here is the Drake we were talking about, the one that Drake Rider summons. He does splash damage to an enemy boosted by red gems. Just boosts 3-to-1 ratio, so if there are 9 on the board, he'll do an extra 3 damage. It's not much. However, it is a meat shield, basically, so that the rest of your team can't get damaged, and then he burns enemies when doing skull damage. Next up is not this one, because that's from Dripping Caverns, the Summoner. This guy's pretty useful in Arena, but you know, he gives life to all allies. It's not a lot, but he also summons, again, a shield for the rest of your team. And he also has a chance to summon an Ancient Horror when he dies. And he has enemy gem masteries, meaning that the gem mastery is how much of a chance that you have to get a mana surge, and it halves the chance of getting that. So, wait, am I losing my mind? Tortoise says probably. That may not be right. Sorry, I've been way too tired lately and I'm having trouble with my memory. I apologize. Armored Boar destroys a row as if they were matched. Those gems deal damage to the first enemy boosted by skulls destroyed in that row, an extra 5 damage for each skull in the row, and skull damage reduction by 25%. 2 more. The Ogren. You cannot get the Ogren from this. This is from Guild Wars only. As I recall, yes, this is only from Guild Wars. You will not be able to get the Ogren with your your campaign keys. My mind is a sieve. Orc. Gain attack event keys. Oh my gosh, thank you, Georgia. I told you, I can't remember squat. Gain attack, transform green gems to brown to boost the effect and enrage myself. And he does have a little bit of skull damage reduction. He gets bonus red for the team from red gem matches. So he's not bad, especially for a common. He's just not that bad. So I would say the most useful things here that you can get would be Eye of Argus, Soul Zara, Feldross, and the Empowered Mana Converters. Of course, go grab this guy with your glory because he's basically free. Just grab him with your glory. You don't have to worry about getting him with your keys. Okay, we're almost done. Almost done. And I will go to bed. Oh, let me get my stuff. Oh, only 25. Did I say keys? I meant glory. But yeah, you can get him with your keys, but you don't have to try to target him with your keys, is what I'm trying to say. So we went over that. Let's look at the. Oh my gosh, I wanted to go over the Soulforge. Let's look at the Soulforge. I told you I'm going to go over as much as I can right now because I don't have time to do it later. Let's see if Centurigon is here. No, but Apophysis is here. If you need Apophysis, she is here. You could try gambling to get her. You're not necessarily going to get her, but you can try if you have lots of red summoning stones and you want her badly enough. And then let me look here. Red and brown are the colors that it could possibly show up under, which is why I'm looking there. All right, for the legendaries, Gorgotha is amazing. Gorgotha is from Kazil. He explodes a bunch of gems, cleanses himself, 75% skull damage reduction. I love this guy. He's part of my favorite Wild King team, and I will try to remember to link that in at the end of this video. But yeah, I actually really love this guy for any skull spamming team. Next we have Hyndla Frostcrown. We just had this troop last week. From Stormheim, she does splash damage to an enemy, freezes all affected enemies, and summons. And all giant allies gain 2 life and magic on 4+ gem matches. Next up we have the Basilisk. Basilisk does true damage to an enemy if they're poisoned, deal double damage, then deal more true damage again, and if they're stunned, deal double damage. So if they are stunned and poisoned, this guy does a ton of damage. Yeah, spell damage reduction by 30%. He poisons enemies when doing skull damage and stuns a random enemy when matching brown gems. So I think he's really underutilized, honestly. But would I spend 800 diamonds on any of these? The answer is no, I would not. Unless you have a legendary that you absolutely are dying to use, if you need it for a power level, or it's just an amazing troop, which I would mention if they were. I generally recommend not using your diamonds on legendaries. Triton is the last of the legendaries. This guy, it does heavy splash damage. That's full damage to the troop that you hit and 75% of that damage to the adjacent troops. Boosted by blue gems with a 1-to-1 ratio, so if there are 9 on the board, there will be an extra 9 damage. And give all Mirthfolk 4 magic, including himself. So every time he casts, his damage is going up and up and up and up. And most importantly, all Merfolk allies start with 50% mana, making him really nice to run with Pycea. And he summons an ice storm at the start of the battle, which actually feeds right back into himself. So again, would I use the diamonds on those? Not me, but especially since we've got some really good mythics in here. Oh, we've got really good mythic right here. I love the Wild Queen, and I have a mythic spotlight on her, so I will add that at the end of this video as well. Wild Queen is going to steal attack and give it to the first ally. Then she's going to create a mix of 22 skulls and green gems. And yeah, it's you always hit the top troop. As long as they have attack that you're worried about doing damage to you, you just steal it from the top troop. And unless they're entangled, in which case they have 0 attack. But she's fantastic. I don't ever even pay attention to these. I didn't even realize till this moment that she summons a bone storm when an ally dies, because I generally don't lose my allies. So love this, love this. We'll add my mythic spotlight on her at the end of the video. Next up is Obsidius. This guy was a lot more useful before Elementals came along, because it was the only way to stun all enemies at once. A single match 4+ and everything would be stunned on the enemy team, as long as they weren't immune. Skull damage reduction by 50%. He summons a dust storm when an enemy dies, which feeds right back into himself, and he does heavy splash damage to a random enemy, destroys a 5x5 block, that's as if they were matched, and a 50% chance to deal light splash damage to a random enemy, that's full damage to what you hit and 1/4 of that to the adjacent touching enemies. Next we have whom? The Archduke. I like the Archduke. I consider him to be the better elder brother of the Consort of Darkness. This guy has damage to an enemy, and whatever your magic is the percentage chance of you insta-killing them. If you manage to kill them, it will also summon. And Lemure, I don't think is really that useful, but it is a nice meat shield for you, for your team. He gains 3 magic when the turn begins. So every turn, this number is going up and up. You pair him with Scorpius, who also gives all brown allies an additional +1 magic every turn. Or you use this with something like the Emperor or the Empress, who gives a bunch of magic or, all the things. And he's just going to one-shot everything with, it's great. Some people, I think, call him the Walmart Zul'Goth. I think he's a good troop. I don't use him that often because I have Zul'Goth and I would rather just use that. But anyway, next up we have the Gemini. It makes sense that this is in the Soulforge right now because it's the Gemini time of month. It's the Gemini time of month. You know what I mean? Gemini is Gemini, May and early June. Last year this came out and I accidentally pulled 4 of them at once. So they steal life from the 2 weakest enemies, then inflicts curse and 3 stacks of bleed on them. That's true damage with the bleed. Also gives 8 life to all purple allies when matching purple gems. That feeds into herself as well, and she is undying. Is she a fantastic mythic? She's not that great. She's not as bad as she's been made out to be, in my opinion. I think she's useful, but she's not one of the best. There are better troops for doing this kind of thing. But if you need a mythic for Gulvania, she is an option. And I believe that's it. So every time I have to count 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Okay, we've gone over all of the troops. Now let's look at the weapons. I have crafted all of the things. It is great. I don't ever want to get power level blocked on weapons again. What was it? Let's see. Let me show you what Lester said earlier. His Grosh power went from 17 to 24 just by getting that weapon block taken care of. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The most useful things in the Soulforge right now are these 2 right here. Doomed Codex. This is one of those books that people love to run during Guild Wars. If you want to be a troll, craft this. Absolutely. It's fantastic for Guild Wars defense only. That's the only thing you're going to use it for. So if you don't mind spending 900 diamonds, is it 900? Yes, 900 diamonds just for Guild Wars, then this is a fantastic option because it is really good for that purpose. But Earth's Fury, I highly, highly recommend crafting this if you've got the extra 300 diamonds, because this is like Mang, except it's going to eliminate all armor from an enemy, do attack, and give all allies 2 attack boosted by the armor eliminated. This will boost your entire team so that it will, if you lose your first troop, then you're still going to have that boost attack for the rest of the team. It uses the same colors as Mang. Mang is more powerful in that it's going to eliminate armor and add that attack only to your hero, but this adds less attack, but it's to your entire team. So this is a fantastic weapon. I really recommend grabbing this if you can. Next up is a spiked mace. I believe this is one of the Splodies. No, it's not. Damage to an enemy boosted by Grosh allies, then create a mix of 6 red and brown gems for each Grosh ally. This could be very useful in the event right now because we are limited to Grosh weapons for the event, as I recall. And a lot of them use red and brown, so that would be really good for the event if you need it. And you don't want to get mana power. If I could speak, that would be great. Weapon blocked here. It's good to have as many weapons as you can afford every week. Bone Scraper! This does damage to an enemy boosted by orc allies, orcs as in from any kingdom, and creates a mix of 6 green and red gems for each orc ally. So you can run this with one of the empowered skull Oh, we. Sorry, have to reposition. Ow. I'm old. I'm not that old, but I can say it because it's me. Anyway, this is for orcs, green and red. I don't know about the colors. I think the other colors are more useful, but this could be useful depending on your team. Next up is the String of Teeth. This enrages an ally, gives them attack boosted by orc allies, and summons. Interesting. Um, and it's a 1-to-1 ratio, so each additional orc ally, you can get at most an extra 4 attack. That's it. Next two are the cheapo 75 diamond ones. If you don't have enough diamonds to get the other weapons, try to go for at least one of these so you don't get power level blocked in this kingdom. Remove all red gems. Deal damage to an enemy boosted by the gems removed. You won't get mana out of it, but you will deny that color to your enemy. If the enemy is from Grosh or the battles in Grosh, deal double damage. Next up is the Lockstone. This one, you gain a barrier, you deal damage to an enemy, and silence them. That's about it. Also, you drain a couple of mana from them, I believe, but you're also silencing them, so they wouldn't have that right away anyway. Next up, we have, not that one. Oh, the King Chopper. This is the splitty weapon. Explode 40 red gems, grant a random status effect, and summon. I love my splitty weapons. I have to have them all. I do use this occasionally because of the colors. And of course, I always recommend the splitty weapons, but that's my personal preference and the way that I like to play. So I think that is it. That is it for the Soulforge. All right, we're coming into the home stretch here. Come on, game. Come on, stop. Games. We are gonna go into the dungeon. Hey, we might as well, and we're gonna pick. Of course, I got the death trap immediately. Immediately. You couldn't have given me streamer luck for this, man. All right. The last things that we have to go over are upcoming events for the week. We have tomorrow we have Dripping Caverns for the faction assault. On Wednesday we have the Ogrekin pet rescue. On Thursday we have the Barbarian class trial. It's really not a bad class, and it is one of the ones where you can have a leaf storm. Those are always useful. And then we have Friday, we have Bounty. The one that we were supposed to have this last weekend is going to be this weekend. We'll have that Bounty event. And of course, Mythic Friday is coming, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video. Anyway, there should be some helpful videos popping up on the screen right now. Hopefully all of the ones I mentioned. Please like and subscribe, and I will get more content out to you as soon as I am able, but it won't be at least until late tomorrow. Have a wonderful day or night wherever you may be, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye!